Learning English with English Faculties.
Welcome back to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today. So look, English spelling gets a really bad rap for being unreliable, totally quirky, and let's be honest, downright frustrating sometimes. We've literally all been there, right? Staring at a word, completely second-guessing our intuition, wondering why on earth it's spelled the way it is. It totally chips away at your writing confidence. But what if I told you it's actually not random at all? In fact, linguists estimate that the vast majority of English words actually follow highly predictable, totally logical rules. Once you see the framework, the whole chaotic system actually starts making sense. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden logic behind one of the absolute most common things we do in English, making words plural. Okay, let's dive right into this. To frame our exploration of English spelling as a secret rule follower, let's look at a really fun phonetic puzzle. Why is it that when we have more than one cat, we simply add an S to get cats? But when we have more than one box, we definitely don't just write BOXS. I mean, what exactly is happening between our mouths and our keyboards that literally forces the spelling to change? To solve this, we've got to establish our baseline first. The absolute easiest, most standard rule that governs most of the English language is this. To make a noun plural, usually you just add the ending S. Simple as that. This is the rule we learn first, and honestly, for good reason. It works most of the time. It gives us that essential anchor of spelling confidence to rely on long before we ever have to encounter the exceptions. Take standard singular nouns like cat, dog, and girl. To make them plural, just notice how incredibly seamlessly that single letter S attaches to these standard consonants. It doesn't change how we naturally speak at all. It just smoothly tags onto the very end of the word, instantly turning them into cats, dogs, and girls. But, here is where the plot definitely thickens. I want to introduce you to a group we'll call the hissing culprits. These are specific rule-breaking letter combinations that demand some special treatment when we try to make them plural. Basically, if a singular word ends in S, X, Z, CH, or SH, that standard S rule gets thrown out the window entirely, and we have to add ES instead. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the curriculum Logic of English beautifully codifies it in their Rule 21. It states, to make a noun plural, add the ending S, unless the word hisses or changes, then add ES. This is absolutely our ultimate aha moment for this explainer. Is a sensory, phonetic rule. The spelling is quite literally bowing to the physical limitations of the human mouth. Let's actually test this out together. Wherever you are right now, I want you to actively participate. Try to mentally, or even physically out loud, hiss these sounds. S, x for the letter X, Z, sh, and sh. Seriously, notice what your mouth is doing right now. Feel how those hissing letters physically shape your mouth, how your teeth come together, and how the breath gets pushed out in this continuous hissing stream. So let's see how this physical limitation completely dictates our spelling mechanics. First, say the hissing word box. Okay, now try adding just the S sound right onto the end of it. Boxes. It's incredibly awkward, right? It's mechanically really difficult to pronounce two hissing sounds side by side without them just blurring together. So we get this incredibly elegant phonetic solution. We add ES to create a brand new, easily pronounceable syllable. Boxes. The E acts as a literal vocal cushion between the hisses. And just notice how uniformly this rule applies across all of our hissing culprits here. If a word ends in X, like box, it becomes boxes. CH in lunch becomes lunches. SH in wish turns to wishes. Z in buzz becomes buzzes. And S in bus becomes buses. In every single one of these cases, because the singular word ends in a hissing sound, we add ES instead of S just to make the plural physically possible to say out loud. So the really crucial takeaway is perfectly captured right here. When loss transitions to losses, we are adding a brand new spoken syllable. Compare that to a word like bank, transitioning to banks, where absolutely no extra syllable is needed. Basically, plural words are spelled with a single S unless you can actually hear a brand new syllable on the plural word. And this proves a massive concept. Our spoken language and physical pronunciation actively dictate our written spelling conventions. Moving on to Section 1, Beyond the Hiss, Other Tricky Plurals. And this brilliantly illustrates how other letters follow their own highly structured paths. Let's look at words ending in Y. If you have a consonant right before the Y, like in the word baby, The rule is to change that Y to an I and add ES, giving us babies. But if you have a vowel before the Y, like the O in toy, well, that Y is protected. You just add a standard S to get toys. It's a completely reliable, highly structured path to pluralization. Now check this out. The exact same logic applies to words ending in O. If a word ends in a consonant plus O, like tomato, we add ES to get tomatoes. But if it ends in a vowel plus O, like that I before the O in radio, we just add S to get radios. This perfectly mirrors the logic of the Y ending, which really reinforces the incredible takeaway here. English spelling isn't totally random at all. It's this intricate system of repeating patterns. Here's one final adjacent rule that ties right back to the physical shape of our mouths. For words ending in F or FE, like knife or leaf, we actually change the F to a V and add ES. Why? Well, try saying leafs with an F versus leaves with a V. Do you notice that shift in your jaw and your lower lip? When we pluralize these words, our mouth naturally changes that unvoiced F sound to the voiced V sound, just for easier flow. And once again, the spelling simply changes to match what our mouths are already physically doing. So we've covered the standard S's, the hissing ES, the Y rules, the O rules, and even those F to V changes. But I really want to leave you with this thought to ponder. If almost all words follow these highly predictable systems, what about plurals like children, men, or fungi that don't use an S or an ES at all? Well, the truth is, only about 4% of English words are truly deeply irregular, which means there is a whole other fascinating historical layer of English spelling just waiting to be decoded. But that is a puzzle for another explainer. Until then, keep noticing those spelling patterns in the wild and keep learning.